Springfield's Talk 1041 and a good Thursday morning. My name is Nick Reed. Tomorrow, Friday, the day preceding Wintergeddon, Snowmageddon, Blizzardgeddon, Iceageddon, whatever Geddon it's going to be, is the entire nation is slated. Well, at least half of it to be shut down with dramatic winter weather. All right, so you know how it is for us. Flip a coin to see how disastrous it will be. We are going to have our happy hour. Increasingly, it sounds as if that wintry weather is not going to start in the air. Last I saw, the prediction was like 6 p.m. tomorrow, which is the end of our happy hour, 4 to 6 at Vineyard Market in Ozark, right off 65. And it'd just be a great final get-together before the end descends upon us in the form of wintry weather, and it is come and go as you please. So of course you don't have to stay the entire 4 to 6 2-hour time slot, but they're going to have a couple of KSGF happy 2-hour specials on some things. So that will be available to KSGF listeners tomorrow, and then of course we will be kicking the show off from none other than Scramblers in the Morning. That will be tomorrow. Chrissy Fulnecki will be joining us. We also have Author of the Week, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone. And the Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line 447-KSGF. As you know, I was having a conversation yesterday. I was meeting with some folks, and then on the way out, saw someone I knew, and just conversation comes up about Trump and Greenland and the what do you think, and I know I've expressed this here before. I've gotten a pretty good filter of not listening to the noise, and about 90% of it is just completely unnecessary noise, and it is all reaction to Trump without the recognition that virtually every time the plane lands safely, and everyone's like, oh, this wasn't the disaster it turned out to be. You had Claire McCaskill declaring that we were going to have soldiers dying in Greenland, and it's like, get a grip. Get a grip. What about Donald Trump's over-the-top rhetoric do you not at this point understand? And you can make one of two choices. You can either choose to get caught up in all of the hysteria, or you can say, oh, well, this is just kind of how it plays out. I'll wait until the plane lands and see where we are. And that's where and everyone could do it their own way. It's the emotional reaction we have to people is a personal choice. And it's this way in our daily lives. You may work with someone, you got a new hire, and they have some sort of personality quirk, and at first you think, oh man, boy, they're real dry. Boy, they don't seem to have the most charismatic communication, and it can be a bit off-putting. But they turn out to be really good at the job, and then you just sort of get it at some point. And you get new people on. You're like, hey, just so you know, when you first meet them, they may seem like they don't really care for you, but that's just how they are. Don't worry, you'll get past that and find that they're a fantastic employee. And that's how I think it's healthy for people to recognize and deal with Donald Trump and just, the things that he says. And while some people will wring their hands over, oh, yeah, but, it's just so, why does he have to? Why? He does. He's almost 80 years old. He's been this way to some degree, though, it's a constant evolution like it is for most people his entire life. This is who he is. So you can either choose to just be emotionally upset about, and listen, I'm not talking to most of you. I know most of you understand and get this, but the reaction of just, people on the internet and you see the left who, of course, they want to be upset. They want to be outraged, because every one of these instances in which they predict the end of the world, when it doesn't occur, they never express relief. They're disappointed. They never say, thank goodness I was wrong about that. They find some new reason to believe that the world is coming to an end. You already have the media, and they're all back on the 25th Amendment out there. I mean, just Trump's behavior at Davos. I mean, it's just very clear that that he doesn't have the capacity to be president of the United States. Really? Then why is it every other world leader ultimately is following in line and being led by him? They may not agree with him. They may publicly disagree with him, but when it comes down to it, they follow him. So what does that say about them? If Donald Trump is able to, as some senile individual that doesn't have the capacity to be president of the United States, to be whipping out peace deals between countries. He's got this Gaza board of peace that, while in Davos, it's been overshadowed to a large degree. But you have all of these countries that are coming together, this historic, this board of peace that he has crafted has many people that are lovers of the great United Nations worried that it will make the UN irrelevant, that Donald Trump is going to be so successful because of his leadership that he is going to create essentially this new governing peace body throughout the world. Now, the UN's already irrelevant unless you're a dictator and then it validates you. But point being is, you have these two worlds. You have the world in which people, again, on the left in particular, have themselves convinced that Donald Trump is on the verge of death and that he is so mentally incapable of leading, he should be removed from office utilizing the 25th Amendment. And then you have the real world, in which, according to the General Secretary of NATO, in principle, there's an agreement because of Donald Trump on how to move forward on this Greenland thing. Now, only Trump could take an annual event like Davos that is irrelevant to most people and create so many worthy sound bites and bits of audio that circulate online, not just his own, but others in reaction to him. We're going to play some of those coming up. Right now, the latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. A winter storm watch is in effect for the entire listening area Friday evening through Sunday morning. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 47. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 18. For your Friday, mostly cloudy with a steady temperature around 21. And taking a look at Saturday, we'll see snow with a high of 14.
All right. Noteworthy conversations taking place at Davos yesterday. Gavin Newsom is. Every time Gavin Newsom tries to make a footprint somewhere in his quest to look more presidential, it just really. It looks like he's trying too hard, and Davos was another example of this. Now, of course, yesterday we played audio in which he actually scolded foreign countries for not being against the United States of America. This is a man who wants to be president of this country, is scolding other countries, telling them they should come together against us. There's also, the visuals of this are just what are significant. You have Trump, and he's there. He's up this huge, massive stage, and he's talking about Gavin Newsom and how I think, I kind of like him. He's a good guy. But that is Trump trolling, by the way. Trump does that because the more he does that, the more the left hates Gavin Newsom, the more that they are suspicious of Gavin Newsom. So Trump knows exactly what he's doing when he does that sort of thing. But he joked about, if I were Gavin Newsom, I'd call me and help, ask me to help out, and he noted all the problems in the state. And then you get this glimpse of one of the video feeds, and Gavin Newsom is way, way in the back of the room in standing room only, while Trump is talking about him. And it's like he doesn't even have a seat. He can't even be seated. He's so unimportant that he's standing against a back wall in the back of the room. And it just gives this appearance of he's not supposed to be there. Nobody really cares if he's there. He has to sort of sneak in the back door in order to appear as if he's somehow relevant. And he's just really, really bad so far at inserting himself in a way that seems as if he should naturally be there. But ultimately, all right. Here is Trump talking about the issue of Greenland, and of course I for those that don't understand how Trump operates, Trump rarely takes any option off the table, even if in his mind, like publicly. Well, and this is the way, and the press plays into it. They feed into it. They ask worst case scenario questions like, if you talk about wanting control of Greenland, if that meant military force, would you use it? To which Trump responds, hey, nothing's off the table. And then headlines, Trump says military force on the table. So Trump deliberately does not show his hand for the purposes of negotiations. And the funny thing of it is, in retrospect, oftentimes, even those people who don't like him acknowledge it. They acknowledge that, well, of course, he never was really going to do it, but it still manages to work. It's a weird human phenomenon. Nonetheless, here he is announcing at Davos that he will not use military force to take Greenland.
We never ask for anything. We never get anything. We probably won't get anything unless I decide to use excessive strength and force, where we would be, frankly, unstoppable. But I won't do that. Okay? Now everyone's saying, that's probably the biggest statement I made, because people thought I would use force. I don't have to use force. I don't want to use force. I won't use force. All the United States is asking for is a place called Greenland, where we already had it as a trustee, but respectfully returned it back to Denmark not long ago after we defeated the Germans, the Japanese, the Italians, and others in World War II. We gave it back to them. We were a powerful force then, but we are a much more powerful force now.
All right, so again, I find it to be a bit of a weird theatrical display to some degree, because I think rational people knew that Trump was just leaving it open, never really planning on it. And so when he announces it, there's this weird, like, oh, thank goodness. But even those that feel that sense of relief, I believe many of them in the back of their minds knew, well, that obviously never really was on the table. But nonetheless, whew, thank goodness. Now we can all stop worrying about Trump taking over Greenland militarily, at least those of us who are worried about it. Excuse me. I want to play a bit of audio with the NATO General Secretary, Ruda, who was on with Brett Baer. And there was about a 5-minute conversation between the two of them. But he is asked by Brett Baer about Trump and this new framework, because it was announced that there is a framework for moving forward with Greenland in the context of Donald Trump's desires here. And he reveals what this is really all about. And we've talked about this before from the very, very, very beginning, not long after Trump got sworn in as president and he started talking about Greenland, what this was really about. And in the answer here, you get a bit of that same messaging.
Oh, I hear you on that and expanding maybe U.S. military presence, but what I don't hear is Greenland is it still under the Kingdom of Denmark in this framework deal?
That issue did not come up anymore in my conversations tonight with the president. We very much focused on what do we need to do to make sure that that huge Arctic region, where change is taking place at the moment, where the Chinese and Russians are more and more active, how we can protect that. That was really the focus of our discussions.
Right.
All right. So what, all right, well, what about the taking over Greenland? He's like, actually, we didn't even talk about that. Now, you may think, well, how could that be? Isn't that the point? No, it isn't the point. The point is what it was that the General Secretary of NATO said Trump talked about, and that was making sure that region of the world is secure from Russia and China in particular. That's what this has been about from the very, very beginning. It's also what Venezuela has been about. Venezuela has not been simply about Venezuela. It has been about Iran. It has been about China. It has been about Russia. And those three countries in particular benefiting from and putting footprint in, which would primarily be Russia and China, in the Western Hemisphere in Venezuela. They were setting up shop in our backyard. And again, some people may disagree with the way that Trump has gone about it, but that was his motivation. When it comes to Greenland, it's the exact same thing. The whole point is, since 2009 in particular, when Denmark allowed Greenland to start working out these unilateral deals with other countries, China was first in line, expanding their footprint in the area. And Trump sees how dangerous that is. Here they are, and NATO has done nothing. NATO has allowed that presence to increase. I know some of you, if you listen to the show a lot, you've heard this a number of occasions, but it's a weird thing to understand the massive significance of exactly why this is going on. Yet you watch the coverage of it, and it's as if that is so irrelevant or completely unknown by the people who are talking about this. The General Secretary of NATO, he's out there saying it. He reiterates it a bit, and he does a pretty good job of articulating the fact that that region of the world that Trump recognizes has not only gone unprotected, but NATO has been negligent, of which the United States is part of, for years, negligent in allowing the infiltration by the enemy, again, specifically Russia and China, to get into that area. And what the NATO Secretary General has noted increasingly over the weekend is that you have 8 countries that border that region. 7 of them are NATO. 1 of them is Russia. And because we look at maps flat on a wall, we fail to recognize how close Russia's proximity is to Europe, to Canada, to Greenland, to the United States when you look at it on a globe, and how significant and important that little area is that Trump is watching that infiltration take place. I want to play another bit of audio coming up here as we continue on the Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line 447 KSGF. I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. A winter storm watch is in effect for the entire listening area Friday evening through Sunday morning. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 47. Tonight partly cloudy with a low around 18. For your Friday, mostly cloudy with a steady temperature around 21. And taking a look at Saturday, we'll see snow and a high of 14.
An upside of all of the discussion regarding Greenland is for people who really genuinely want to know what's going on. I think it's a real eye-opener as to how it is that China and Russia are, dangers to the national security. And really, I mentioned this is essentially the third time Trump has compelled NATO to do what NATO is supposed to be doing and make sure that it protects its member nations from Russia and any other outside enemy forces. And the irony is, and the Secretary General of NATO has mentioned this. We're going to play audio of him mentioning it once again at Davos. Trump continues by outsiders and political opposition to be presented as a danger to NATO, yet he is the one that is pushing NATO to be more solidified. He is the one that has been strengthening NATO, not by just saying, oh, we'll carry an even larger burden, but by forcing NATO nations to participate in a more meaningful way. He sees, when you understand how Trump views things, all of this becomes so clear. He sees what is NATO's mission when it comes to Russia, protect from Russia. What does he see occurring when it comes to Greenland? This massive, massive opening for Russia. He wants to close it, and China as well. In a couple of different capacities. For Russia, it's more about the ease with which they could, this is a very watered-down, simple version of it, but in terms of Russia, their ability to very easily shoot missiles from Russian land into NATO ally countries, and having that golden dome, the ability to have the control over Greenland so that we can have a golden dome that is a defense against that sort of thing. Now, China, they're more long-term, more strategic, and that is planning footprints and getting all of these deals going where they are the ones that control the mining operations of these metals that are very important when it comes to microchips and when it comes to batteries and when it comes to things that we all need, any time. But obviously, during any sort of wartime, it's extremely important. And Trump sees that this massive hole that they've been taking advantage of, and in his mind, NATO's existence is to prevent this sort of thing from happening, and they're not doing it. The irony is that Donald Trump is the one who is getting NATO to do what NATO is supposed to be doing, while being painted as a danger to NATO. And it shouldn't come as any surprise because the left loves symbolism. Just like the United Nations. The United Nations does absolutely nothing meaningful when it comes to keeping peace in this world. Nothing. Zero. When you hear about any of you look at Donald Trump and the 7-8 different peace deals where was the UN in any of that? Where have they been? Nowhere. All they do is take dictators and put them on human rights councils. But you can't ever talk about defunding the United Nations because of the symbolism of it. Trump only cares about symbolism if it furthers the actual meaningful cause in some capacity. Otherwise, it's irrelevant. What's the point? So the upside of all of this for people who genuinely are curious about what's going on and the truth is learning about what negligence has been at play here regarding NATO and Greenland and the Arctic and how dangerous that can be for our future, but also just about Greenland itself. And when we talk about other countries, we oftentimes associate countries and the lifestyles to what we know. Do you know, do you know what the population of Greenland is? Do you know Springfield has 3 times as many people in it than Greenland has?
No kidding.
Greenland has roughly 50,000 people as a population.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you're talking about a small to medium-sized town in the United States. Now, that doesn't necessarily change, how it is that you should treat them in regards to their, quote, sovereignty. And I say quotes because they are, under the control of Denmark. But when you talk about a country where you think millions and millions of people, tens of millions of people, the city of Springfield's population is over 3 times the size of the population of all of Greenland. Yesterday, one of the exchanges that has gotten a lot of attention, as it should, was you've got these the presidents of numerous NATO nations up on stage, and there is also the general secretary. And he lays out the reality. He's telling the audience, because all the questions, Donald Trump and weakening NATO. And, the General Secretary of NATO is in a interesting position compared to the presidents and prime ministers and leaders of all these NATO nations, because the Secretary General, his number one priority isn't a country that he presides over. It is making sure NATO is as strong as possible. So he doesn't ever have any sort of conflict going on there. Whereas so many of these other countries oftentimes, we don't want to give a full 2 or 2.5% of our GDP because that we want to spend that money elsewhere in our own country. And so there's a conflict there oftentimes of priorities. For the General Secretary of NATO, one priority, and that is the strength of NATO. And it's very interesting that he is the guy who notes the significance of Donald Trump and the strength of NATO. And here he is once again telling the audience about this.
I know criticize Donald Trump. Do you really think that without Donald Trump, 8 big economies in Europe, including Spain and Italy and Belgium, Canada, by the way, also outside Europe, would have come to 2% in 2025 when they were only on 1.5% at the beginning of the year? No way. Without Donald Trump, this would never have happened. They're all on 2% now. Do you really think that in the summit in The Hague, as already Alex was saying, the president of Finland was saying, that we would come to an overall defense spending of 5%, including 3.5% in core defense, if President Trump would not have been re-elected as president of the United States? No way. It would never have happened. So again, I'm not popular with you now because I'm defending Donald Trump, but I really believe we can be happy that he is there because he has forced us in Europe to step up, to face the consequences, that we have to take care more of our own defense. And when it comes to the Arctic, I think President Trump is right. Other leaders in NATO are right. We need to defend the Arctic. We know that the sea lanes are opening up. We know that China and Russia are increasingly active in the Arctic. There are 8 countries bordering on the Arctic. 7 are a member of NATO. That's Finland and Sweden and Norway and Denmark, Iceland, Canada and the US. And there's only 1 country bordering on the Arctic outside NATO, and that's Russia. And I would argue there is a 9th country, which is China, which is increasingly active in the Arctic region. So President Trump and other leaders are right. We have to do more there. We have to protect the Arctic.
Again, the General Secretary, and he has been very consistent. Very consistent. And incidentally, the General Secretary prior to this one also talked about how Trump was responsible for the strengthening of NATO. There's a reason for that. People can disagree over Trump's methods, but the motivations are indisputable. And what is also indisputable is the fact that negligence has led us to this point. And this is once again Donald Trump doing what so many others have just refused to do. And oftentimes just out of why should we bother? because sometimes these things are hard to do. Sometimes they're messy. It requires everybody getting together and coming to agreements. And that just really isn't that much fun. When instead you can get together once a year at events like Davos and just talk about how awesome everyone is. To Trump, that is a waste of time. That does nothing. I want to mention one other thing before the traffic update, and I suspect what will, there's going to be almost, I think, some mockery of Trump touting as a move forward that there is a framework on moving forward when it comes to the whole Greenland situation. Number one, that should not be dismissed. Because until Trump began talking about this, all of the other NATO countries weren't even paying it. There was no interest whatsoever in combating this problem. They are now doing that. So that is, getting in the right headspace is necessary before you can start making meaningful moves. Plus, Trump doesn't throw around the idea of a framework or agreeing in principle as something that is, as a step forward, unless he really truly recognizes that, okay, these people are serious about it. Because, again, he's not into symbolism. Part of the loose agreement at this point is potentially having more of a military presence in Greenland. And I suspect some people will downplay that, saying, well, we could do that anyway. I mean, we already have military footprint there. And I mean, how is that the United States coming out ahead? We're just going to be spending more money there? This isn't about a simple military presence, though that is very important. It is about getting under control this, frankly, poor decision-making by Denmark and Greenland, and Denmark allowing Greenland since 2009 to concoct these agreements and being taken advantage of by China that allows China to dig in deep into the Arctic. Because that's where the real problem is. It's not simply about the ability of the United States to have a military presence. It is about preventing further encroachment by China and even potentially rolling some of it back. That is just as, if not potentially even more important than the military presence component to this. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed. Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. You got home buying needs, you got home selling needs. You have the absolute best with Emily Johnson. Her husband, Will, also. Oh, what were you telling you?
I got to work with Will
Yeah,
for the
that's
first
right.
time.
You did. You were telling me we had a meeting, and you
Yes.
sort of mentioned that on a sidebar, and I was like, oh yeah, we've got to talk about that. So
Yeah.
we talk about Will, not as much as Emily, but he's joined that team, and he does the Yellowstone style stuff, if you will, out
Yes.
whereas Emily might. I mean, she's not isolated to neighborhoods necessarily, but if you're talking about big pieces of land and farmland, and
Will's your guy.
that Will is the guy, that's his area of expertise. And so how is it that why were you utilizing him?
I mean, we're pretty
Buying
happy.
up land?
Yes.
Buying up land,
Yep,
are you?
That's it.
Land
No.
tycoons?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're trying to do out there in the old Fair Grove. No, there was a house for sale like 3 minutes away from my mom's house, and so the husband and I, we looked at it and we're like, oh, we probably should go look at that just so we don't have remorse when it sells, because maybe it's what we're looking for. We didn't know it, but yeah, it had I don't know, 3 or 4 acres more than what we have now. But Will ended up meeting us out there because Emily had an open house the day that we went to look, and he talked us through all of the property lines and just through the house stuff as well. And yeah, he was great to work with. And he ended up saying, look, I haven't seen your house, but I think you are pretty set at where you're at.
Was he smiling?
Yes.
If you've not met Will, he's like just the biggest smile in the world, and he has it on quite often. He's a happy guy. So yeah, whether it is looking out there or maybe you're looking to sell off some acreage, you got a ranch, and you want somebody who really understands what that means, because it is a whole different beast than living in a neighborhood or just even on an acre. So then you've got best of both worlds with Emily Johnson and Will Johnson, House Theory Realty. One of the non-Trump specific related moments that was just absolutely fantastic was at Davos, Treasury Secretary addressing Gavin Newsom's presence there. And I'm not even sure what the question leading up to this was, but Gavin Newsom, he's popped up in Davos and, trying to look relevant. Again, think that he didn't do it well, among other things. He insulted all of our allies and scolded them for not teaming up against the United States, which is a weird thing if you want to be the leader of the United States, but that's the approach that he's taken. And there was some question that was asked of Treasury Secretary Bissett regarding Gavin Newsom, and this was his response.
Very, very ironic that Governor Newsom, who strikes me as Patrick Bateman meets Sparkle Beach Ken, may be the only Californian who knows less about economics than Kamala Harris. He's here this week with his billionaire sugar daddy, Alex Soros, and the Davos is a perfect place for a man who, when everyone else was on lockdown, when he was having people arrested for going to church, he was having $1,000 a night meals at the French Laundry. And I'm sure the California people won't forget that. And I can tell my message to Governor Newsom is the Trump administration is coming to California. We are going to crack down on waste, fraud, and abuse. And I was told he was asked to give a speech on his signature policies, but he's not speaking. Because what have his economic policies brought? Outward migration from California, a gigantic budget deficit, the largest homeless population in America, and the poor folks in the Palisades who had their homes burned down. He is here hobnobbing with the global elite while his California citizens are still homeless. Shame on him. He is too smug, too self-absorbed, and too economically illiterate to know anything.
Thank you very much.
Let me know if you need any further clarification.
Ooh, burn.
I mean, yeah.
Gave him the what and the for there.
He did get the what and the for. I'm surprised he didn't just clock him. He's got that reputation of throwing fists. I love it. So he referenced he's a combination of Patrick Bateman and Sparkle Ken. Patrick Bateman's a character from American Psycho, if you've not seen that film, and he's just a real in terms of personality and look, very sleazy, slick back hair. So I just, what a picture that painted. And to note that he's probably the only Californian that is less economically educated than Kamala Harris or whatever, the exact verbiage. I mean, it's just, the one thing would love to know is if he planned that ahead of time, because that was just one after another. If that was all off the cuff, pretty impressive.
Sparkle Ken Barbie.
But what's so great about it is while he is noting the real serious implications that Gavin Newsom being governor has had on people's lives to a devastating effect, he also makes a mockery of him. And it's been noted in the past that if you are a politician that is hated, that isn't the worst thing in the world. It's when people are mocking you and laughing at you, that's when it's over. And so that combination of the notation of just what tremendous and unnecessary damage Gavin Newsom has done as governor of California, while at the same time diminishing him down to a sparkle Ken Barbie doll is quite the combination, to say for sure. Christy Fonecki in the upcoming hour. We'll have Author of the Week in the 8 o'clock hour, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone. And tomorrow, it doesn't sound like what the wintry stuff's going to hit until after happy hour.
I think it's going to be later. So,
yeah, so
from what I'm seeing is maybe 11 p.m. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah. Either way, and it looks like what we'll be getting right now is expected to be snow. The sleet will be down into Arkansas. Of course, these things can always change, but I never worry so much about the snow. It's the sleet and ice that really become dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Not that snow, it gets packed down and then melts and refreezes, and so there's obviously some danger in that. But when it comes to happy hour, I just don't anticipate increasingly. It doesn't seem like there's going to be any problem. So 4 to 6 at Vineyard Market, right off 65, and if you don't know how to get there, go to ksgf.com. It's easy to find. Great folks, great people. You can have some dinner if you want, or just some drinks. They're going to do some drink specials for us. So that will be tomorrow at Vineyard Market, 4 to 6 happy hour. Springfield's Talk 104.1. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the show. My name is Nick Reed. Ozarks elder law. Not planning at all is not a plan. It's bad. We talked yesterday a bit about all of the fraud that's occurring in California resulting in people dying, and that is because the Dr. Oz had noted they discovered a 7 times higher rate of people being moved into hospice in California than the rest of the country. And so they're like, well, that's weird. Are people, for some reason, dying in hospice at a 7 times higher rate? And they're finding that many of these hospice facilities, they weren't dying at all because they shouldn't have been in hospice. But doctors are financially incentivized to get them into hospice, which at the same time means those patients no longer get any care that is medically necessary outside of just, helping them be comfortable until they die. And these are the decisions that government can make for you, particularly depending on your state and if it's run by somebody like Gavin Newsom and his political party, in which human lives are not really that relevant. You are at their mercy. It's why having your protections legally documented is so important. You think, well, I'm married. If something happens to me, my wife ultimately or my husband gets to make those decisions. Not necessarily. You still, even while married, need to have all of that stuff documented. Your child turns 18. They are no longer your child. They are an adult, according to the law. So you can't make medical decisions for them. Hospitals may let you, but it doesn't have to be that way. So that's why Ozarks elder law is so important, particularly when it comes to those life decisions, those medical decisions. Free consultation, 10 area locations, and they'll let you know up front this is what it costs in order to make sure that you are taken care of. And, of course, they handle so many other things as well, nursing home payments, wills, where does the family farm go, and so much more. And they can go over all of that with you as well. OzarksElderLaw.com. Christy Fulnecki here in
Yes,
studio.
good morning.
Oh,
Good
how are
morning.
you there?
Wow, that's crazy. I didn't know that about California.
Yeah.
About the hospice issue.
Yep. Dr.
Yeah.
Oz revealed that. Well, and I don't know, that may have been something that was revealed earlier, but I know he went over some of the details of it recently. And, 7 times the rate.
Oh, gosh.
And it's to say this is why you don't want government in control of medicine.
I know. And you know what I'm thinking? I wish I was a conservative attorney in California right now. Man.
Well, then we talked about how in California Canada about 10 years ago, they started the MAID program, medical assisted death.
Yeah, right.
And how increasingly you'll have people there in Canada that will apply for a specialist because of some disorder they have, and it will years and years and they can't get approved. But literally within hours, if they apply for the death, they'll get approved for that immediately. It's just last year alone, Canada killed off over 1,600 people.
Wow.
It's been over 75,000 people in the 10 years the program's been in existence.
That's terrible.
Yeah, and I mean, and they'll do it too if you're just depressed. They just want to get rid of you.
Is anybody surprised?
So, but what is it? The people that always talk about, the need for free medicine and socialized medicine because it's so compassionate. Really?
That's right.
They just kill you off because you're too expensive.
Well, that's a party that. How many abortions in the United States? Look at all the people that we've killed through abortion.
Oh yeah, I know.
And babies that have been some of them born killed. I mean, it's a culture of death. What do we expect? So.
Yep. Culture of violence, culture of death.
Yeah.
Human traffickers.
That clip that you played of the Treasury Secretary, when I listened to that last night, I thought, I don't know if I've ever heard such a masterful sentence in my whole life. And the funny thing is, and then I was listening to different commentators. So the one that I like, well, I don't know which term for Newsom I like the best, but I like Greasy Gavin. That was a good one. I like that one. But then, so when he was talking about the Ken Barbie, somebody said Sparkle Beach Ken. So I had to look back, and those were the Kens from the 90s.
Well, Sarah sent me a picture, and I thought,
It's pretty accurate.
Is it Sparkle Beach? Is that the one
Was it
for Ken?
I
Or
just
which
looked up Sparkle Ken Barbie. I mean, he looks like all of them. There's a whole line.
That's right, he does.
So he wasn't wrong.
I wonder if anatomically he also looks like the Ken.
Probably. Seems like he would.
Just real smooth.
I mean, and you know, and then
That's why he looks like that.
and jazz hands. Yeah.
He does that weird. They're not even jazz hands. They're a weird. I don't know how he puts his thumbs up and then he rotates. He does this thing.
You know, it's
weird.
Going from one jazz
He's
hand
like
state to
shuffling
another
out of
jazz
handcuffs.
hand state.
What'd you say?
He's shuffling out of handcuffs.
Well, that's what it does look
that's
like. It looks
right.
like somebody trying to work their way out of handcuffs, and
Maybe they'll put Waltz and Newsom in the same.
they can be
cell.
cellmates together. They can coordinate the prison talent show.
See who is more manly.
Yeah, definitely. Waltz will be like, "Don't worry, people are intimidated by my manliness," and Gavin will be over there just combing his hair with the that standard black comb.
Yeah. I
greasing
mean,
back.
you know what will measure success? Okay, so now that this happened to the governor of Minnesota, is if he can get Newsom to step down.
Yeah.
That'd be
This is the crazy thing to me. There are lots of Democrats. Why is it that
yeah.
the party insists on elevating the Democrats that have genuinely the worst track records?
Well, because that's who they are.
I mean, Gavin Newsom is considered largely to be the favorite to get the nominee. Only real challenge to that would be Kamala Harris. It's like you didn't lose the last election bad enough to where you're like, let's have another crack at it. That is still a woman who has never won the nomination.
Yeah.
Because it was, she had to drop out the first time because she performed so poorly. She dropped out before Iowa even came about, and then, she got handed it after they forced Biden out and overturned the Democrats' election that time. And they're like, yeah, let's have another crack at that. Like, what is the matter with you? And then Gavin Newsom, just look at the results. You can't find another Democrat governor that hasn't, at the very least, not run the state into the ground. I mean, I'm not even talking about necessarily success.
Dumpster fire in California.
It's just such a weird thing.
Could go wrong when you're governor.
But
I can't plan for emergencies.
But the thing, this is a real thing. You know what I mean? This is a real thing that has been happening consistently. It used to be they would elevate people that didn't really have a track record. And Obama was one of those individuals, didn't have a track record. But increasingly, they elevate the individuals that are the biggest failures. Another example, and I'm not sure what the latest polling is, and it's not nearly as high profile, but I think it's Maryland that the Democrats are having a U.S. Senate primary, and the current governor is running. Again, I think this is Maryland. It's some state up east. In the primary, a Democrat. And then this other guy is running as a Democrat who, it was revealed, had actual Nazi tattoos. He openly had asked online, why is it black people tip so poorly? He said a lot of anti-police stuff. And after all that stuff came out, he shot up in the polls amongst Democrats.
Yeah.
And here, I think this is honestly it, and we got to get traffic. I think Democrats have become emotionally like spoiled toddlers to where they instinctually, if they're told not to do something, that's what they do. Out of like emotional anger, I'll show you. So I think whenever they see somebody like Gavin Newsom become a target because of all the failures, it's like they want to gravitate towards like, well, we'll show you when you have Kamala Harris, complete idiotic failure, or Tim Walz. And because they are being attacked for their records and constantly it's noted what failures they are in terms of results, that causes that 5-year-old toddler reaction of, well, I'm going to support him because you don't like him. And I think that's why it is that they consistently gravitate towards the biggest losers in their party.
Well, I mean, like you said, it's a party of death and the party of criminals. Not only do they defend criminals that are illegal aliens, they defend criminals that are politicians.
Yeah, they love them. All right, with Christy Filnicki coming up, we got a traffic update. First, though, latest news.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. A winter storm watch is in effect for the entire listening area Friday evening through Sunday morning. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 47. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 18. For your Friday, mostly cloudy with a steady temperature around 21. And taking a look at Saturday, snow and a high of 14.
I mentioned this story briefly a day or two ago, but wanted to bring it back for you specifically.
Oh, thank you.
Native American group vows Supreme Court fight over woke New York mascot ban, and this is where it's the Native American Guardians Association, NAGA, argued that the New York Board of Regents 23 ruling banning Native names or imagery from public schools is discriminatory, and they want the ban lifted. And so,
to get in touch with them.
oh yeah, and if we're
about that.
in just the
30 years now.
sanity of the left, and in the name of racial whatever, completely whitewashing all people of color and making it illegal. You want to talk about, quote, Jim Crow style laws where Democrats ban Native Americans from being able to be mascots or it's like, how far back in time do you want to take us?
And now we know who's been doing it because now we see them on TV. It's all these white crazy women
yes
that are not Indian, by the way. They had one girl on there that was supposedly
Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah, well, yeah, not her. No. She was probably a relative of hers, equally crazy
with her powwow chow book.
No.
I need to buy that.
A long time ago that the Indians see it as a source of pride.
Well, that's because that was the whole point. That was the whole point of the whole thing was dumb for a number of reasons.
Being a warrior.
Number one, they would, when it came to the left, when it came to statues, they would say that, we should tear down statues because statues were put up, like when it came, if you're talking about people they didn't like. And they said, well, statues, that sort of imagery is showing a celebration, and we can't be celebrating bad people. But when it came to mascots, they would say the opposite. They would say, well, no, that's not a celebration. That is somehow making fun of them. Now, think about how dumb that is. Who in their right mind is like, okay, everyone, we got school pride, we've got team pride, we've got culture pride. Now we need to pick an image, however, that instead is something to make fun of. Like, obviously, the point is a point of pride. And when it came to, like, the concept of being tough and fighting and warriors, well, Native American culture is one that has been synonymous with that sort of battle, that war. And so it was done as a nod to the battle warrior of the Native American culture. And it's just like the white liberals like, nope, gotta take that away from them too.
And the teams and their fans want to be associated with being a warrior. They don't want to be a wimp like all the liberals. And plus, like my tribe, we were strong. I mean, we would scalp people all the time.
Yeah, you were.
So why would you want to be associated with that?
Yeah, you're. I always think of this John Mulaney bit, and it's one of the funniest. And he talks about John Mulaney's a comedian. For those that don't know, he talks about the pitch for Back to the Future and walking through it, and he does it in a way that really does, because we think Back to the Future is one of the best movies ever.
Yeah,
but when he's walking through how it was probably pitched, you realize actually how absurd the movie actually is. And he talks about how, and the end, towards the ending where Marty McFly's at the school, and he references the fact that Marty McFly, is responsible for Chuck Berry's writing of the song, whatever,
Yeah.
And he says, so we took that away from him too, referencing like, we took that away from black people. And I always think of that line where he's like, and so we took that away from him too. Every time white liberals remove somebody of color of a mascot, or go so far as to Jim Crow style laws making it illegal for a person of color, Native American specifically, to be a mascot.
Racist.
It just whitewash it all. Only white people get to be mascots, according to Democrats.
Yeah, right. I mean, what a bunch of racists.
Trash.
Because we were reading these, it started, I think, in the 80s, because when I was in law school, like 25 or 30 years ago, we were reading about all these, Supreme Court battles about, the logos, because it started back then. I mean, just think, it's just ironic the past 20 to 30 years is when our culture has totally changed. But, I mean, I thought how absurd, especially with, when I lived in D.C. and then now the change, because my husband, sorry, Chiefs fan, I'm a Chiefs fan, but my husband was a diehard Redskins fan. I mean, but you think Redskins and Commanders, I mean, I hate the Commanders. I don't like that name at all. Yeah, and then just the practical, you change like your whole culture of your team, And then all of us had I've talked about this, but we still have all the Redskins stuff.
Yeah.
And the kids are like, can we still wear this to school? I'm like, yeah, if somebody gets mad at you, just tell them you're Indian.
Right, yeah.
But it's just so, the whole thing is ridiculous. But I'm telling you, I'm going to contact, I don't know who this organization is in New York.
It's
but
NAGA. Native American, let's see, Native American
So,
Guardians
like the
Association. There you
MAGA.
go. Yeah, but it's NAGA. Well, and
All
to the
right,
point
good.
of
That's my new group.
racist liberals, and here's a town hall story. Nasty women, crusty old white libs harass and denigrate black ICE agent. And there's a story about how a group of mostly white liberal women scream at a black ICE agent, calling him a race traitor and idiot with the reading level of an 8th grader.
Wow. That's interesting because I thought about that the ICE agents, are ethnically diverse.
They have a
yeah.
very disproportionately high number of Hispanics.
Yeah.
In
And
the
I
ranks.
thought, I wonder what they think about this. They could care less. You know what?
These liberals.
But the thing is,
so
it's just so inspiring, I think.
bad.
Not that I'm going to speak for all of law enforcement, but it must be finally refreshing that you can do your job and the not crazy people, that they so appreciate you. Because, I know that there are people that come up to me and like, thank you so much. We're sorry about all of these criminals that are these white libs in our town.
Well, that's what I'd really like to see in one of the area's schools, a walkout in honor of and supporting these ICE agents, because Central just helped the students coordinate a walkout for the people in the country illegally, which includes rapists and murderers. And so it'd be nice if there was one for the people who actually put their lives on the line in order to enforce our laws.
I heard some local schools had some kids like meeting and.
Yeah, well, Central, according to the news leader, it was employees that helped coordinate it, make it happen.
That's insane.
Yeah, but it's not because of the issue, but because it's First Amendment. Right.
Did you see Kid Rock when he was? I wish I could. I don't know if you played it, but it was really funny. He was going off about. Like, who would ever want to sleep with these because he was saying how the birth rate had decreased so much. And he said, but if you look at these white liberals,
right,
sleep with these women.
Well, to make that point, there was a side-by-side photo, and one of it's become a photo, but there's actual video of it that has become somewhat iconic in Iran, is this hot Iranian chick that has a photo of the Ayatollah, and she lights it on fire and then lights a cigarette off of it. And
that.
And so it's badass.
That's so cool.
It's badass, but
I was going to say that, but I didn't know if we could say that on the radio.
But because it's true, it's okay to say.
Oh, okay.
But she's also hot, and somebody noted, they're like, look at female protesters in Iran versus female protesters in America. And it's like some, 400-pound nasty blue-haired thing with metal. And it's just like, what an embarrassment. Absolute embarrassment.
So cool. I have to look that up.
Yeah, more with Christy Fulnecki coming up.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First, meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. A winter storm watch is in effect for the entire listening area Friday evening through Sunday morning. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 47. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 18. For your Friday, mostly cloudy with a steady temperature around 21. And taking a look at Saturday, snow and a high of 14.
Christy Fulnecki with
No, you show me that video
that Iranian chick, yeah.
Yeah, that was so good. And I keep thinking how the liberals want to be so cool, and they are not the cool ones anymore. They are not.
Goodness, no.
No. I mean, and I was thinking, I don't know, for some reason,
gross and awful and
awkward. I mean, and Macron, okay, with those sunglasses. To me, I was like, what are you doing?
Well, rumor is that his wife clocked him again. Like, she did in the airplane that day.
She used her man hands.
Yeah. Maybe she was just trying to, her big man hands, she was just trying to get an eyelash off of it, and she just clumbled it up. And
it's like, I told you so. I'm telling you, like, with the sunglasses, I thought, really? And they said he had eye infection. I'm like, no.
Why would you want to look like Joe Biden? That was my first
so,
thought. That's what
really?
Joe Biden would do. He just watched Top Gun for the first time, and
like once Trump walked in there, everybody's like, okay, straighten up. Here comes Dad. Love the whole thing when he was talking about Daddy.
Oh yeah.
It's almost like, okay, he is the mafia boss. And all these other people are trying to act like the mafia boss, but they can't.
Let me tell you something.
That's totally what I think.
And I was really thinking about this the other day because I saw yet again another photo. And it was a side-by-side of, I don't know, maybe a bunch of Democrats. But then next to it, and it was Trump. Oh, I know what it was. It was noting the years each one of these people was going to become president. And it was Trump walking, and he was flanked by Rubio and J.D. Vance and Pete Hegseth and I think a couple of other people. And, there have been a few of those moments, that imagery where he's headed somewhere with those people. And
oh, yeah. I've seen that, yeah.
Genuinely looks badass. Not trying to be cool, not like a Gavin Newsom where, hey, but there's just, they all have such confidence. And they're all good looking.
Yeah, right.
They're dressed nicely. And you just look at it and you're like, my gosh. I mean, there's just it's not even a presidential thing. It's just it exudes this power and charisma. And it's just really badass.
Yeah.
That imagery
it just remind me of like the Godfather or Mafia or something without the criminal element, but
there's been, I think it was when Trump was he was announcing the Venezuela stuff, and Hegseth is on one side. You got again Rubio on the other side, and Rubio, a lot of times when he is flanking Trump at an event like that, it's almost like he's scanning the room. If you watch him, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if he's just watching people's reactions. I guess, what are you going to look at, But he's not looking at Trump. I don't know. There's something about it, and I don't know. Some people may brush it off as I'm fangirling, but I'm just being honest. That never political people. You'll see rock star. You see produced presentations in movies where you're like, oh, that looks really cool. I've never in my life.
Right.
I've never in my life seen it. Until Trump, specifically when, again, it's like Rubio and Hegseth and J.D. Vance, and they're all just kind of walking together. There's something about it.
Yeah. It doesn't happen in politics because everything's so manufactured.
Well, but to your point, if you had told me back when, Bob Dole's running against Bill Clinton, just wait, one day the Democrats are going to be the party of annoying losers
and mental illness
that become the party of cringe because they're trying to be cool, and the Republicans are actually going to be the cool ones without even trying. I would have thought, I can't wait to see how this evolution occurs. But it's
so nice to have it change that we're finally the cool people.
You even look at, I think even Obama, in retrospect, to a lot of people, seems like kind of a nerdy, uncool guy.
Right.
For somebody that was...
He seems like he has a chip on his shoulder now.
And somebody that was presented as just being, oh, so cool and charismatic, which I never felt that way, but of course I was biased. And I think looking back, all that shine is gone. And the same thing with Michelle Obama, and the Clintons too. Did you see? In fact,
Oh,
so
yeah,
I'll segue into this story. I think this is very interesting.
yeah.
The House Oversight Committee voted to refer Bill and Hillary for chamber-wide votes on criminal contempt of Congress charges. Now, this is because of their refusal to comply with the subpoena regarding Jeffrey Epstein. And a number of the people who voted for this, there were a number of Democrats, but they're like the squad members. They're the younger lefties. And I think that this is sort of a throwing out the old guard. I think that what this is.
I didn't know that. I didn't know what the vote was.
Yeah, because this just occurred. The committee voted 34-9 to advance one contempt recommendation against Bill Clinton, with 2 members voting present, and another on Hillary Clinton 28-15, with 1 member voting present. 9 Democrats voted with Republicans against Bill Clinton, 3 against Hillary Clinton. And a lot of them were like Ayanna Pressley, which she's one of the lesser-known squad members. Rashida Tlaib was one of them. And so you have some of these more extreme younger left-wingers that I think this is like throwing out the old guard. Like, all right, we've had to deal with you people long enough and trying to keep us under control. I think it's very, very interesting that they would join with Republicans to vote.
So their extreme left wing is really taking over then.
And it has been. They lost control of it clearly some time ago, but for them to go to this extent, I think it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I heard I don't know if it was Glenn Beck, but they were talking about warning Republicans not to do this because they said there wasn't going to be anything when they brought Bill Clinton, if they enforce the subpoena. And I thought, I don't really care. That's going to cause a civil war and whatever. But you know what?
I don't think so. It's not worth it. Why save?
Why? Yeah, and plus, why live by a separate set of rules? Everyone else has to abide by it. So why do they get a free pass? Especially when all of the pictures of Clinton in the hot tub in the swimming pool.
But Donald Trump, he's the one covering it all up. It's like, do you not pay attention to what's going on? All right, so I thought this story was interesting, and I wanted to just throw it out there. Okay. They got these storms that are coming, right? And I don't know if you remember, but whenever there were ice storms or the real cold snap in Texas a few years ago, during that same period of time, Ted Cruz was with his family on a vacation that had been planned a long time.
Oh, yeah. I
right? And they
that,
pitched
yeah.
a huge fit.
Yeah.
Well, he has some work-related stuff that he, I guess, is doing out in California. And I don't know, his family may be going along. It may be one of those things where they're going to go along, make it a vacation. But it had been underway for some time. And so he, yesterday, I guess it was, or the day before, was flying out to Laguna Beach. And so once again, they're like, Ted Cruz is leaving, and it's supposed to snow a lot in Texas, and how can he abandon his state? And I'm like, I don't understand this. Like
he's a U.S. senator.
But what is it? What's he
gonna do?
Yeah, now
I'm gonna pass a law that the ice is not gonna fall down.
He's supposed to stay there because of what?
Okay, that just shows that they're a bunch of idiots.
Well, and this is part of the symbolism that has become part of our political culture, in which people don't even stop to think, okay, why are you upset about that? Like, what is the problem? Well, it looks bad. Why does it look bad? Why is it when there's a hurricane, everyone is supposed to get out and go away, but when there's snow or an ice storm, you're supposed to stay anyway? Like, explain that to me.
What is a U.S. senator going to do?
I know, it's just dumb.
There's nothing. Okay, this really, really aggravates me because we've talked before, Giuliani in his book is talking about when you're a mayor and there's a crisis, like 9/11 or whatever, you're there and then you go to the crisis. So you're present because you're the one that's in charge of the crisis.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And yes.
So a perfect example is the LA mayor The difference in that is because she was in charge of the city,
and
that
left
was
as the fires were going on.
burning. So that is the difference. Like, what was a U.S. senator supposed to do?
Or when a hurricane's coming and you know what aftermath disasters there's going to be, and so you have, of course, he's there anyway. But you've got Ron DeSantis. He's out there. He's holding the. Here's what's happening. But yeah, like, what is it? Do you want him to hand out blankets? I don't understand what it is. And so the roads are
that hypocritical.
Is Ted Cruz supposed to be out there driving a salt truck over the roads or something? I just, it's like, what is it? It's so dumb.
In charge of emergency response.
This is when.
What the heck is he gonna do?
This is frankly exactly when you were.
Outrageous me. This makes me so mad for some reason.
This is when you were supposed to leave. Like, whenever it's like. And people brag about it oftentimes. In fact, one of my sisters had posted, I don't know if she is current or she was posting from something a year ago about going to, I don't know, some island or whatever, and with all the cold weather and what great timing it is. People always do that. They're like, I'm so glad I'm going to Florida this week. I'm so glad I'm going to Turks and Caicos this week while everyone back home. But Ted Cruz, now if he does it, my God. I mean, it's a news, this is New York Post. Senator Ted Cruz brushes off criticism for flying out of Texas ahead of catastrophic winter storm.
I mean, that makes me so mad because because this whole thing with Los Angeles, I mean, look at, and then the governor is literally going to Europe and trashing the United States when everything that he's done to his, I mean, it literally is a dumpster fire. And then they haven't even built, they were showing pictures of the Palisades last night. And I thought that place
There's not a single home built. Yeah. Not a single home. Nothing. I mean, nothing. They've done absolutely nothing other than get in the way.
Disaster.
Well, and so this all became because somebody on the flight, that's obviously a leftist, took a picture and posted
Cruz
on the plane.
People are so
Posting on X, Senator Ted Cruz spotted earlier today, January 20th, on a plane headed to Laguna Beach as the state of Texas braces for a rare ice threat in Arctic cold front. Political commentator Shay Jordan Smith wrote. I don't know if she's the one who took the picture, but posted it. Well, and of course, as usual, jumping all over it, and before knowing the facts. And apparently, again, this was a work trip planned way ahead of time. But he was scheduled to be back before the storm even hits anyway. So. I mean, he's going to be there through.
I can't believe that's just so psychotic.
It's typical lefties.
Yeah.
You people are nuts. This is why you people are crazy.
Well, I know, because they don't even think it through. This is so, this whole tour of America that they're doing, that Trump, I know he's doing this to help, but it highlights the incompetence of the Democrats. So they're leaving Minnesota, going to California. I cannot wait to see what happens, because from COVID on, all of the embezzled money that is going to show up. I mean, this is crazy what's getting ready to happen to California.
We've got Christy Fulnecki. Traffic update. I'm Nick Reed. We have happy hour at Vineyard Market tomorrow, 4 to 6. FYI, Christy Fulnecki. Did you hear what?
Yes.
Did you hear what I was saying? I said we have
Oh.
happy hour at Vineyard Market tomorrow, 4 to 6.
Okay.
So I know that's not
I
too
know,
awful
it should-
far from where you are. Not too terribly far.
I know. I need to try to
You
get
know,
it
it's not
up.
real close either, but it's close. I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And it's my birthday this weekend.
Yeah,
so I'm
you should-
excited about
yeah.
that one.
I bet if you come out, then somebody will buy you a birthday drink or at least say happy birthday.
It's nice.
So that would be something.
Okay.
We're talking about how Democrats, they celebrate criminals, and I know a lot of people will push back and say that's not true, but I challenge you to find a press conference that Democrats have held in the last, 5 years that wasn't because of somebody who has broken a law, who has tried to kill police, who have fought with police, who's in this country illegally, a human trafficker. There's always those people. In fact, there's a story. I mean, yet again, this poor young couple, 2 college students, got hit head on by a drunk driver who is here illegally and who had committed some other crime, and there was an ICE detainer, but it was a sanctuary city, so they helped him escape. So here's 2 more people dead, young people dead that would not have been. And where's the press conference for them?
Yeah.
Where are the walkouts for those people who innocently die unnecessarily because of people who are in this country illegally and protected? No care for those people. No press conferences for those people. So, to further the point, Trump had, in order to illustrate the point that so many of these individuals are bad people, he was holding up their mugshots and like, hey,
Oh yeah, that was
this
so
is so
great.
and so.
Yeah.
He murdered these people and this and that and so forth, and so then The View, of course, was outraged by this, and co-host Sonny Hostin claimed that he was defaming these poor criminals and that they should sue him.
Okay, for one thing, she has no idea what she's talking about, and for defamation, it has to be a false statement.
But again, and this is all true, of course. But what is it with their constituency? Their number one priority are bad people that want to hurt good people. That's like number one priority for the Democrat Party. They don't ever get outraged for the innocent victim. They don't hold press conferences or go to the funerals of innocent victims. It's always these bad people.
Yeah, and what are they don't personalize it, and that's a problem with. Seriously, these people don't care about killing other people. They're just evil. Because what if on The View that something happened to their son or daughter or their friend's family or
I honestly
something,
don't know that they would care. They would care probably that their loved one was murdered or raped or killed, but their political ideology would override their willingness to want actual justice, to recognize that those policies you support have resulted in your own child being raped or murdered. They would disconnect from that. I really genuinely believe that. It's deranged.
Yeah, they have mental illness, and at this point, it's become a cult. But the good thing is, at least on the other side, we know what we're up against. It's what we're fighting against. It's people that definitely want to take us out, that don't care about killing us.
Well, and part of why they are becoming increasingly violent and out of control is because increasingly they aren't able to win on the issues. And so the Democrats just frame everything as, oh, those are Nazis, they're bad, so we just have to get rid of them at all costs.
I think they're being called out. Like, now we're starting to make fun of all these people.
Yeah. And there's only one Democrat, John Fetterman. He's the only elected Democrat that's high profile that has come out and said, my political party is stirring this up. This rhetoric is causing these things to happen. It has to stop. And what's electorally speaking, the Democrats' number one priority, at least one of them, is to get him out of there.
Yeah.
It's to get him out. They're going to run someone, try to primary him because he actually has the audacity to say, yeah, maybe we shouldn't try to murder people we disagree with.
Yeah. Well, and that's why all those people left and came over to the America Party.
That's right.
The American Party.
Apostrophe Merca.
I know, that's right.
Pinnaker Honda, great time to check out incredible deals that they have, whether it is 2.49% APR for 48 months on a 26 Honda HRV, maybe leasing based off your driving habits is your preference. You always get into that new vehicle. $199 lease a month for the 26 Honda Civic Sedan LX, and still some great deals on 25s. You have the Certified Dream Deal sales event also happening now. I know folks out there are like, I'll never buy a new vehicle. It's just not worth it. Well, rates as low as 1.49% for select certified pre-owned vehicles, and there's always the Pinnaker Advantage. 20% off routine maintenance when you purchase a vehicle from Pinnaker Honda, and 10% off routine maintenance if you purchase from one of the other locations, the Republic or Branson location, which that's the category I fall in. So even I benefit when it comes to that Pinnaker Advantage. Pinnaker Honda, South Campbell, just south of Walnut Lawn. Christy Fulnecki's here, and got racist trash story of the day. Michelle Obama urges people to be mindful of buying white-owned clothes brands.
Oh my God.
Racist trash. During a recent interview clip circulating on social media, Michelle said, oh, I know, Michael, said she actively tries to buy clothes from people of color in order to make it a point. So she wants people to know she's racist, saying if I hear of someone whose fashion that I like and I know that they're a person of color, I try to make it a point, but the clothes have to be available. You know, I think we can all do some work to think about that balance in our wardrobe, and saying that, you know, when it comes to buying white people's clothes, you should just be mindful of that.
Was this on her
What?
podcast? Is that
Let's
still a thing?
see. You know,
This said
this said it was
during.
during a recent interview, so it sounds like not.
She's been on on other people's podcasts lately, but I haven't seen her own. She
Yeah.
has no class.
She does. That is correct.
Yeah, and she shops
Low
in
class.
Michael shops in the men's section. So apparently, the white girls' clothes don't fit her.
We. I don't even know if I know what that means, but it's still somehow. It's absurdly funny somehow. We had to we were I don't know why on earth we were talking about yesterday the fact that if it really came down to like her clocking Barack Obama, that I bet in one punch she could knock him out.
Totally could.
Yeah,
He's probably terrified of her. He's like,
could be another Bill and Hillary Clinton sort of situation. But
Well,
I don't
yeah.
think Hillary could have physically taken Bill Clinton, but I think Michelle Obama could physically take Barack Obama.
oh, totally.
Yeah, if she
Yeah.
wanted to, and maybe she has. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, you know, I think Hillary had a girlfriend, so maybe Obama has a boyfriend.
Janet Reno. Oh no, wait, Donna Shalala. That's who they said it was. She was
I
yeah,
don't
that
know,
that
but
was the
I
rumor.
remember when I worked there.
When she wasn't murdering Vince Foster, that is.
I know. When I worked there, my friend worked at the White House, and he had told me, he was in Air Force, and he had told me that she had a girlfriend, that Hillary did.
Well,
Well, hopefully I don't get taken out. But hey,
you got
I
20
gotta-
seconds.
I got to tell you, this Native American group
Yeah.
that we were talking about earlier, about the logos.
15
So
seconds.
they support Atlanta Braves, Kansas City Chiefs, Cleveland Indians, Washington Redskins, Chicago Blackhawks. So all the teams. It's a 501c3, so you can donate.
Okay.
And maybe I'll run for president of the organization.
Yeah. That would be some
That's
good
my new group.
representation. Christy Fulnecki.
Yes.
All right. And happy birthday. Maybe
Thank
we'll see you
you.
at Vineyard Market
Yeah.
4 to 6 tomorrow. Springfield's Talk 1041. My name is Nick Reed. We're into our number 3. Welcome to the show. Any of it that you have missed, fear not. Podcast section at ksgf.com, the KSGF app. There is Spotify. There is iTunes. We will be broadcasting live Friday Road Show from none other than Scramblers. And then we are going to also have our happy hour at Vineyard Market in Ozark 4 to 6 tomorrow. Should we talk about the lunch bunch thing? Is that something we can just mention?
I think we're going to officially launch it on Monday, but you can tease it if you want.
All right. We do lunch bunch at a partner location for a while, and then sometimes we take off for a while and freshen it up. And so we're really going to go a bit of a different route, but with an ongoing partner. And that is going to be Godfather's Pizza. And we've done the pizza party thing in a number of different capacities, and we still have, because Godfather still wanted to do the pizza party at school if you're a teacher and administrator, which is turning upside down the concept of pizza parties at schools, which are always in the classroom. Nope, this is out of the classroom. Students are left out of it. But we thought, you know what, why don't we do lunch bunch there for a bit? Springfield location has an incredible buffet, and they've got a salad bar as well. And it would be pretty accommodating for those of you who maybe haven't done lunch bunch in the past or signed up because you don't have a lot of time at lunch. And, if you go to a restaurant where we've done lunch bunch in the past and you sit down and you got a server, and if it's busy, sometimes it can take a bit long, and you're like, oh, we got to get back to work because we have to clock in, clock out. Well, having a buffet option makes it a lot easier because, bam, you can, at your own pace, your own speed, and you're not at the mercy of how busy the restaurant is necessarily. And Godfather just has, some of the absolute best pizza, and they're fantastic partners. The owner, just a tremendous guy. And so that is something that we're going to do for a while. It'll still be on Wednesdays, and it will be at the Springfield location specifically. Monday we'll have it launched so people can register. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Is that okay. So you can't get registered yet, but giving you a heads up.
It's coming.
It's a-coming. And our first one, we'll do the first Wednesday in February. That's the current plan. So that'll give some time for you to get registered, for us to contact you, and then you'll get to bring up to 5 people with you. And then they open at 11, so whatever time during the lunch period, 11 being the earliest, that will work for you. You'll meet Sarah and me over there and bring 5, or, you don't have to bring them. They can meet you there, friends, family, coworkers, whatever you want to do. So very excited about that. I'm particularly very excited about it because I just absolutely love Godfathers. And so now, thanks to you all winning on a weekly basis, we'll be able to have lunch there also. People always, it's the one thing, would always thank us for the lunch bunch, like, thank you so much. And I'm like, no, thank you, because we're having lunch too.
Yeah,
because
we're all winners.
Where everybody's a winner.
Mm-hmm.
Right, very excited. Okay, so coming up, ABC Books sponsoring our Author of the Week. Right now, the latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. A winter storm watch is in effect for the entire listening area Friday evening through Sunday morning. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 47. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 18. For your Friday, mostly cloudy with a steady temperature around 21. And taking a look at Saturday, we'll see snow and a high of 14.
Thursday, Author of the Weekday, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone. Our good friends there making it possible weekly for us to introduce you to a book, to an author. This week, Caitlin Yeager, and the book is Small Town Missouri, a bit different than we don't always do politically or historically driven books. We do have a variety. I mean, last week was a great example of that, more focused on a local murder mystery that took place here in the Springfield area. And this one is, small town Missouri, and about all the different small towns throughout the Missouri or throughout Missouri. And I want to welcome you to the show and tell you part of the reason that I wanted to book you is because Sarah, the producer here, she's one of these travel folks. She loves to just go and travel and visit, particularly maybe off the map style towns. And I thought, well, this would be something. This would be a perfect book for her. And I want to thank you for being with us. And are you also a travel person? What made you decide to write this book and specifically focus on maybe some of the lesser known towns throughout the state of Missouri?
Hi, yeah, thank you so much for having me. I would consider myself a travel person. I actually kind of stumbled into this book, sort of, I guess you could say. My full-time job is with a wonderful organization called Missouri Humanities, and this organization that I've been with for about 10 years is really what got me into a lot of the nooks and crannies of Missouri. It's a statewide organization. We work a lot with rural Missouri communities. And it really opened my eyes to a lot of the really wonderful stories and people and places that make up all the space in between, St. Louis, Kansas City, Springfield, Columbia, all those areas. So, that's kind of was my entree into small town storytelling. And that's kind of how the publisher caught wind of what I was doing. And I say this basically anytime someone asks this question because I think it's so funny, but the publisher didn't ask me to write the book. He asked if I knew somebody who could write the book. And I kind of stuck my neck out a little bit. And I said, hey, I've never written a book before, but, I would love to try. I think if I was going to write a book, small town stories is what I would do. So he put a lot of faith in me, and I'm really grateful to Reedy Press for giving me the opportunity. And now we have Small Town Missouri.
Part of what I always find to be interesting when there's any sort of book along these lines is even if you're born and raised and you're, full-blown like Missourian, you go through and you're like, I've never even heard of half these places. How is this possible?
Oh, absolutely. I that is something I think I pride myself on with this book. It was my goal to both, include the, quote unquote obvious communities, the ones that when you're thinking small town Missouri, they're probably what you think of, places like Herman and Missouri wine country.
Right.
But I really did want to include the communities that I felt had really interesting stories and places, but you might not even understand, their place in Missouri history or even that they existed. So I really wanted to include a really good mix of not just the towns you'd expect and the stories you'd expect, but also the unexpected and really get a good kind of geographic representation of this state and the different, places that it can represent and the stories that it can share.
How did you pick the towns that are in the book? And I asked that. I did what probably just about anyone and everyone from Missouri does or did whenever they look at the book, and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to find my hometown." And what was interesting, my hometown is Carthage, and I'm like, "Oh, that's not on there," but Carl Junction is, which I thought, "Oh, well, that's interesting." Yeah. Neighbors right next to one another, and so I was like, "Well, I wonder how it is that you do choose who is and isn't in the book."
Yeah, I wish it was a really easy answer, but it's not. I kind of led to it a little bit with your previous question about, making sure there was geographic representation, making sure there was a good mix of expected communities and unexpected. I think you have a great example of you might think that Carthage is in there, but Carthage isn't in there, but their neighboring town of Little Carl Junction is. And I think Carl Junction has some really great stories. And that's an opportunity to, maybe you're going to Carthage anyway and you go hop over to Carl Junction, because the book says, hey, this is a great place to visit. So it started, of course, with population. That was kind of our first cutoff. And I believe our population cutoff was to keep it under 25,000 people. And that kind of obviously eliminated, a huge chunk of the state. But other than that, it really ended up with, who had stories that I thought would be interesting to tell. You know, where can I make sure that, you know, if somebody was going to an area of Missouri, that there was a place that's in this book that they could maybe take the you know, unbeaten path and go and explore it, instead of going, you know, down Highway 44. Maybe you go down a state highway and explore a different community. You know, and quite obviously, you know, it's who had enough information that I could find in my research to fill the pages that I needed to fill. So, you know, there's a couple examples in the book of, you know, a town that I feature, but in that town's, you know, 2 pages or 4 pages or what have you, it mentions, hey, while you're here, hop over to this next town. You know, I think Keatsville mentions the town of Brunswick. I didn't include Brunswick as a 2-page spread, but I did say, hey, if you're going to Keatsville, hop over to Brunswick and see the world's largest pecan.
Right.
You know, while you're down in Neosho, hop over to Diamond, Missouri, and see the George Washington Carver birthplace. So I tried to make sure that, you know, if I felt that, you know, this place maybe had a very important story to tell, if I couldn't necessarily fit it in, that I tried to get people to, you know, double the experience and see another neighboring community.
We're talking with our author of the week, Caitlin Yeager. The book is Small Town, Missouri. Now, I say Carthage, my hometown. I moved there the summer before my freshman year from Excelsior Springs, which is in the book, and Hall of Waters and the Elms Resort Hotel up there, and the visuals are important, and just for people to understand the book, this isn't all print where it's just sort of a dry description of each town. I mean, you have visuals in the book. It's to me, it's the perfect, easily digestible, enjoyable book to kind of just flip through, especially if you're going to do a staycation and find a place that just even visually you're like, oh, that looks like a neat place.
Absolutely. I think be able to flip through if you're looking for, you know, just something interesting to look at, something to skim. I joke that you should just keep it in your car, because, you know, you never know when you're going to be, you know, pulling off the highway and you want to see what's around you. But it's a great combination of beautiful visuals. I think they did a great job incorporating the images and making these places look desirable. And then also the information that I put in there, I wanted to make sure that it was enticing, but it didn't give you all the answers. It invited you to really get out into these communities and figure out the rest for yourself. So it ended up, you know, exceeding my wildest dreams as far as, you know, what a book could be. And I'm really, really proud of it, and really proud of Reedy Press.
I'm going to keep making this about myself. Salem is also on there. Half my kin is from Salem. And so growing up, family reunions were always Montauk State Park. We would do float trips down Current River quite often. And you know, Missouri has, beyond just the small towns, and many of them are connected to and maybe even still exist today because of so many of these different state parks. And we have tons of, in fact, one of our partners, Hunter Hardscapes and Outdoor, they sponsor a feature in which we highlight them on air, and these features that run throughout the day. And so a lot of outdoor activities connected to some of these small towns also.
Absolutely. That's one of, I think, the main drivers for a lot of people's first experiences with small towns. They go to a state park. You know, you imagine how many communities are, you know, still thriving because of the Katy Trail that revived a lot of communities that maybe saw some decline after the railroad went out. But the Katy Trail and bringing tourism, bike tourism, and these, you know, really interesting cross-state, you know, travelers to these small towns. You know, sometimes that's people's first exposure to these communities, and there's a lot of opportunity for growth there. There's a lot of opportunity for communities to take advantage of the fact that they have an asset like a state park or a national historic site that says, hey, you're going to come here for this place, for the Katy Trail, for Deutsheim State Historic Site in Herman, the Walt Disney Museum in Marceline. You know, you're going to come here for these reasons already, but let me show you what else we have to offer, what other places and stories we have to offer you to help you explore more. And I think that that's a really great entree into getting off the beaten path and exploring these towns for more than just kind of the obvious attractions.
We're talking with Caitlin Yeager, the book Small Town, Missouri. Did you find any favorites or unexpected gems you were unaware of through Missouri while putting the book together?
Yeah. Piedmont, Missouri has done. They, I love when a small town kind of figures out a little piece of their story and it's unique, and they kind of just run with it and say, you know what, this is something that other people
what we
don't
have.
hang
Yeah.
their hat on. And Piedmont is that they are the UFO capital of Missouri. They have a high number of reported UFO sightings, and so they said, hey, we're going to capitalize on that. And so it's kind of been this running, theme for them. They have a whole park dedicated to its UFO history. They have murals of aliens and statues of aliens, and it's just, one of those things where, it's a little quirky, and they're running with it, and I think that that's amazing. So I love finding little stories like that.
Sarah, as someone that this book is tailor-made for, you love visiting small towns when you travel, even well outside of Missouri. Do you have any questions for Caitlin?
I don't think so.
Okay.
My first thought was, I wonder if Marceline is going to be on there, because that is the cutest little town, and they've really capitalized off of it.
Oh, it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
they have a great Walt Disney Museum.
Yeah, I
They
wasn't
do, and I'm
familiar.
glad you brought up Marceline, because Marceline, you say you have the cutest downtown and the cutest small town, and that's exactly what inspired Walt Disney to create Main Street USA in Disney World, is the downtown of Marceline. So you have it exactly right.
Well, any final thoughts you have for listeners today?
I just, I know we're heading into some colder months, but don't
Yeah.
discourage. There's plenty of great things to do indoors, coffee shops and bookstores and museums and historic sites. So, keep exploring and, start planning some spring break road trips. If anybody is interested in learning more or purchasing the book, you can go to my website, CaitlinYeagerAuthor.com. Find me on social media under the same name, or you can find it at a lot of different local bookstores and big manufacturing bookstores as well.
Caitlin Yeager, the book, again, Small Town, Missouri, and, of course, big thank you to ABC Books on North Glenstone sponsoring our Author of the Week. Thanks for being with us this morning. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Enjoy the snow.
All right, you do the same. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. Well, you're all amped up now.
I am. I'm really
going on
excited
and on about
this
all these
book.
little towns.
I just
that
all
I
these
knew it would be
random-
Taylor. I thought this is just going to be tailor-made for
I'm
Sarah
really happy
Myers.
that you did that for me. Thank you. I'm
You
gonna have
are
to read
welcome.
the book.
You are welcome.
Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air. You know that bitterly cold? It is just right around the corner. And if you've noticed that your heat is just making odd noises, maybe it's running constantly or it's struggling to keep up, it might be time to have the Foreman team out to your home. Whether you need maintenance or a new unit installed, the Foreman team, they do it all, and they work on a variety of heating systems, both residential and commercial too. The best part is they don't upsell and they don't use scare tactics on you. If you would rather repair versus replace, they're going to help you out the best they can. And remember, if something does pop up after those normal business hours, they also have a 24/7 emergency service line, so you are not left out in the cold. So if you are noticing heating issues, make sure to get that call into Russell ASAP. Now you can find all of the contact information for Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
Coming up, I want to play another bit of audio from Davos that's not, necessarily Trump related. It's not Trump. It's not NATO General Secretary, but it is the Citadel CEO, which is hedge fund stuff. And so these people, they are invited to speak at these events talking about the economy and the world economy. And as you can imagine, these more establishment world economy people haven't really been the biggest fans of everything Trump has done, particularly when it comes to tariffs. But I wanted to play audio of Ken Griffin talking about, just in terms domestically speaking primarily, the difference between the Biden administration versus the Trump administration and just how stark he describes the differences when it comes to the economic environment in which the two approaches create. So I'll play that coming up next. Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line 447 KSGF. I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. A winter storm watch is in effect for the entire listening area Friday evening through Sunday morning. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 47. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 18. For your Friday, mostly cloudy with a steady temperature around 21. And for Saturday, snow with a high of 14.
Citadel CEO Ken Griffin was one of the Q&A speakers during a forum at the World Economic Forum that took place on Wednesday. And this isn't a guy that is a cheerleader for Donald Trump. A lot of these hedge fund people, particularly when it comes to international business, they haven't been huge fans of Trump because of his tariff approach and also his America First focus, whereas they are more internationally focused. And so regardless of who is right or who's wrong, point being is Ken Griffin certainly is not some massive cheerleader where whatever Donald Trump does is great. In fact, some of the Q&A were criticisms of Donald Trump. But when it came to looking back to the previous administration, he laid out this stark difference between the Biden administration and the Trump administration in terms of just economic growth and business-friendly environment. And I wanted to play his comments now.
Imagine how painful it was each and every day under the Biden administration to look at what new crazy proposal was being put into place to solve a problem that didn't even exist. I mean, our constant friction at Citadel with the government across umpteen different aspects of our business was exhausting. And to have that literally end on one day, Election Day, just gives you so much energy as an entrepreneur to go back and build your damn business. So the biggest sea change I've seen across American executives has been just like the giant sigh of relief. I can now go and focus on building my business. And that prior administration, we happen to be a creditor of Spirit. Their merger with JetBlue was stopped. Spirit's in bankruptcy today. There were so many decisions that were so poorly thought out in terms of economic consequences. It cost the U.S. economy dearly. I cannot emphasize that enough. And so the Trump administration is making slow progress on deregulation thus far, but the end of the regulatory onslaught has been just an extraordinary boom for American business.
Yeah, you mentioned the Spirit Airlines and the fact that the decisions by the Biden administration running into bankruptcy. And there was a story just a few weeks ago in which Elizabeth Warren was being criticized because she helped torpedo a merger of some American company. I want to say maybe it was a Zumba or I suppose whatever the product was is not as relevant as the fact that Elizabeth Warren, in the name of somehow equitable opportunities from an economic perspective, helped block it. And that company also ended up having to file for bankruptcy, and China is now going to be buying it up. And their national security concerns and implications. I think it was one of the, if I remember right, Zumba, because the concern was now China's going to be selling a product that is mapping out people's homes. And this was because of the Biden or the Elizabeth Warren, the Democrat approach when it comes to these businesses and just the instinctual hostile approach to, if you are a person who creates jobs in this country, you need to be watched over. You need to be given permission to do anything, and the instinct that whatever you're doing is bad. And the fact that results in, and it has a trickle down effect that results in harming everyone. The left has done a very good job, and arguably on certain issues, some of the more populist Republicans in demonizing businesses. And we've, Holly has really joined arms with Bernie Sanders, and even, Trump when it comes to this credit card stuff and saying, well, we need to cap it at 10%. This convincing people that businesses are bad and that government somehow is the great angel that has our best interest in mind, and that they are the ones. Milton Friedman had made the point on, I know at least one occasion, I believe it was with Phil Donahue, and Donahue talking about, yeah, but don't we need government to regulate these businesses so, they don't take advantage of us? And Milton Friedman simply asked the question, who are these people in government that are so pure as the driven snow, that have absolutely no interest in greed or power that you speak of? Where are these people? I mean, oftentimes, by definition, politicians are power-hungry people. And this idea that those individuals should be in charge of telling private industry for our good what they can and can't charge and can and can't do, it never ends well for the consumer. Nowhere that it is implemented, that particular philosophy. Because here's the thing, and this is I guess the irony of the left and maybe some in the middle, heck, even maybe some on the right, and this misunderstanding. They say, well, these businesses are only interested in money. Well, what is the only way they can make money? It is to get people to want to buy their products. The fact that if you have two businesses or two particular, industry categories, let's say, and one of the industry categories is full-blown capitalism where the bottom dollar is all that matters. It is making money. And then you have another one in which the making of money is totally irrelevant. No bonuses. Everyone makes the exact same amount no matter how well the company does, no matter how poorly the company does. And now, which of those two do you believe ultimately is going to end up with the best product or service for the consumer? The one that the more that a company wants to make money, the more it is to their advantage to make products that people want to buy at a price point that they can afford. Once government gets involved and the more that the focus is taken away from the consumer, the less pure that form of capitalism becomes, the less responsive the business is to the actual consumer. Look at medicine. Perfect example. I mean, there have been so many factors involved in medicine today, be it government and regulations, and then you got insurance, and you've got just all of these different components. To increasingly, people feel as if their doctor just doesn't even, I'm just a person that comes in and they see me for maybe 10 minutes and then I get handed off, and the consumer does not feel as important as they did once upon a time. Do you think that the reason that, let's look at electronics and televisions, for example, at Sam's Club, I'm usually there once a week to pick up a few things, and they've had on display there for around $1,500 a 100-inch a 4K TV, maybe even been 8K, but I think it's 4K TV, and it was one of the higher ends. I mean, we're not talking about some weird off-brand. 100-inch. And I mean, easily you can get a 75-inch for $500 now. you have that product increasing in quality while decreasing in price. Now, do you think that's because the people who run all of the different television companies out there are not interested in making money? They have no interest in making a profit whatsoever, and so that's why those prices are low, and that's why the product continues to improve in quality and bells and whistles? Of course not. It's because of a free market system. And it is fighting for more of the marketplace. And when it comes to supply and demand, and you do have other, forces that are involved in there, of course, that is what is necessary in order to win over the consumer. It is, lower the cost and increase the price. Now, some products increase in cost over time. You have, an inflationary component to it. But this idea that when a company is concerned with profit, that means somehow the consumer gets screwed over, that is the opposite of reality. And that isn't to say that you don't have anomalies and you can have a situation in terms of a monopoly and the consumer has no other option and so they jack up the price. But those are exceptions to the overall rule of a free market system. When you're talking about, and again, there's no system that's absolutely perfect. This is the false belief of people on the left that if you get just the right socialist in charge, they're going to make up all the rules and absolutely micromanage everything absolutely perfectly, and everything's because, there's this idea that you can create a perfect system. It's not true. It's which one overall results in the consumer having the most affordable and the most advanced product and service available. And the less regulation and the more freedom that exists, that's you can argue over why the results are the way they are, but the results are the way they are. And it is part of the reason it is so painful as a thinking person for me to watch people on the left who claim that they are upset at the cost of living, but then rally around elected officials who say they are going to raise taxes on corporations. That is a tax on you. Any company that sells a product or a service, all the money that they get to pay taxes and to pay the bills and pay insurance, that money comes from you. You are where they get the money. That's where it comes from. And to watch, you'll see a crowd of generally speaking, left-wing people at an Ocasio-Cortez, Bernie Sanders rally where they're talking about it's just too expensive to live in the middle class right now, and then get everyone to cheer at the idea of raising taxes on companies that then sell the products and the goods to those very people. You're cheering against yourself. You're cheering for higher costs. Speaking of, I'd mentioned yesterday, and I'm going to try to hit some of the list here coming up. Democrats, not even 48 hours in control of Virginia. The biggest campaign issue that they ran on was making things more affordable, and all they have is a massive list of items they're going to raise taxes on. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed. Sarah Myers, everyone.
Thank you. I wanted to read a review from Ken about the Pyramid Roofing Company. Ken wrote, all the fellas worked hard and they did a great job. I would take Josh as a son. Thanks for all you have done for me.
Oh, man.
Have a great day. That's a pretty strong review if you ask me.
Yeah.
It's pretty strong when you say I would take Josh as a son. That's not just someone saying that, hey, the roof looks good. I mean, that's someone talking about trust and character and how they were treated throughout the entire process. And that's exactly what the Pyramid Roofing Company is known for. They take pride in doing the job the right way, not the fast way. And the team actually gets to know you really well. And I mean, Ken, he does a perfect example of that. So if you need a repair, a replacement, or maybe you just want an honest inspection, give Josh a call today and schedule that free roof inspection. You can find all of the contact information for the Pyramid Roofing Company under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
Yeah, so Virginia, they held their elections. Democrats, obviously this was back in November, but the Democrats took control. They all got sworn in recently, and they ran on affordability. And immediately, their number one priority is raising the cost of living of the citizens. Town Hall notes the Democrats now control the legislature and governor's office in Virginia. Here are just a few of the different bills that the Democrats have introduced thus far. A brand new 4.3% sales tax on Uber Eats, on Amazon, and on deliveries. So right out of the gate. So you could call that an immediate 4.3% inflation increase. I mean, it's a tax, but it's going to, it's just cost of living going up. A new sales tax on admission to a wide variety of businesses. It would create two new higher taxes. A higher tax bracket of 8 and 10% on people making over $600,000. A new 10% tax bracket for anyone making over $1 million. 3.8% investment tax on top of the state income tax residents already pay there. Raising the hotel tax. New personal property tax on landscaping equipment. So if you buy a lawnmower or shears or limb lobbers or a rake, you got to be taxed for that as well under the Democrats' plan in Virginia. This is all part of making it more affordable. A ban on gas-powered leaf blowers, which of course is not environmentally friendly. The amount of pollution that is created to extract the rare minerals that are needed for these lithium batteries does far greater damage to the environment than gasoline-powered do. And bonus, it makes the consumer more reliant on China. Guaranteed illegal alien-free education. So in addition to increasing taxes all over the place for the residents of Virginia, Democrats want them to also pay for the education of people who come to this country illegally. When it comes to voting, this is just bonus stuff in addition to increasing the cost of living. Extend the time absentee ballots can be received after Election Day to 3 days. Well, that has good idea written all over it. Allow people to cast their votes on the internet. Expand ranked choice voting, which is one of the biggest rig jobs. Extend the deadline for ballot curing to 1 week after Election Day. Redact the addresses of political candidates from Freedom of Information Act request. Now, let me tell you why that's significant. Because increasingly, we find out that these Democrats that run for office don't actually live in the district that they claim to live in. And so what Democrats are trying to do in Virginia is ban citizens from finding out where it is that people are running for office actually live. So you can't find out if they live in the district they're running in. Add Virginia to the National Popular Vote Compact for presidential elections. Make it illegal to hand count ballots. Back to some more of the taxes that Democrats are proposing in Virginia. $500 sales tax on firearm suppressors. 11% sales tax on all firearms and ammunitions. It would prohibit outdoor shooting of a firearm on land less than 5 acres. It lowers the criminal penalties for robbery. It bans the arrest of illegal aliens in courthouses. It removes mandatory minimum sentences. So it's all pro-criminal stuff. And, of course, replaces Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day. These are the priorities of the Democrat Party as they have taken the state of Virginia. Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed. We're talking about how in Virginia, Democrats won while running on affordability and then immediately are filing bills left and right in order to raise taxes on everything, one of them being Uber Eats. A text coming in on the Pyramid Roofing Company Talking text line. To add to that, people are going to stop using Uber Eats and food delivery services because of the higher prices. I already don't use those things because I tip too well, and it would really empty out my pocketbook, and upcharge on the original delivery seals the deal. And listen, it's the same thing when you raise the cost of employees through minimum wage increases. It's the lower to middle class that lose their jobs. This is the way it always is. And when they rally around, well, they're going to jack up taxes on millionaires, and so we're really sticking it to those people. Do you know what that means? Whenever a millionaire, whenever one of these people that you see is so rich has less money, instead of hiring somebody to do maintenance on their swimming pool, they do it themselves. So guess who loses the job? It's the middle class person that cleans pools for a living and does pool maintenance. Guess what businesses go under in a situation like that? When you are somebody that is a multimillionaire and all of a sudden government's really sticking it to you by taking away more of your money, instead of hiring that catering company to host an event, you may just do the food yourself. So guess who misses out on that revenue? Guess who? Yeah, the millionaire's life changes because they're doing the food themselves instead of hiring someone. But the people who used to be hired for that, they're the ones now out of jobs. That's how that works. And that is the compassion of the left. We talked about Gavin Newsom being in Davos and how this is just incredible. He shot out at our allies, the people that have been coordinating and working with Donald Trump on a number of different efforts, insulting them and saying that they need to stand. This is a guy who wants to be president of the United States, that they need to stand up and join forces together against the United States. These are our allies. And he said that he should have brought knee pads, suggesting that they are down on their knees performing sexual acts on Donald Trump. And he's doubling down on this, evidently, by having these knee pads that are for our allies. This guy, he's just an idiot. I think that he believes if he is somehow audacious because Trump is audacious, this is going to work for him. He doesn't have any true self, so he has to mimic other people. The problem is he's insulting our allies. This is someone who claims that Donald Trump is a horrible leader because he alienates our allies, and you have on the world stage Gavin Newsom suggesting with props that our allies are nothing but whores. and need to join forces against the U.S. See you at Scramblers tomorrow. Glenn Beck's next. I'm Nick Reed.